G'day, guys. Look, no podcast this week. Just couldn't make it happen. A few things going on. Pat being a little bit unwell. I've been a little bit unwell. And look, the footy hasn't been much chop to talk about. So I thought I'd just chuck this one up on our YouTube channel. Do a little bit of first crack gear. I'll give it my first crack anyway. Bear in mind, certainly haven't got the same technologies that Fox Footy does, but I will give it a red hot crack. There's been a lot of chat about the Brisbane Lions lately. Obviously, we've lost 3 on the trot, been spanked the last 3 weeks, to be perfectly fair. And whilst the final score against Freo was okay, it was pretty flattering because the third quarter again was pretty gross. And a lot of the chat has been about the attitude, especially the defensive attitude from a lot of the players, especially the midfield, defensive transition. Now, if you've been listening to the show, I think I pointed this out after we actually flogged Collingwood, which was a weird time to point it out. I didn't necessarily know what I was talking about at the time. All I knew was that when Collingwood did score, despite the fact we won by 50-odd points, when Collingwood did get the ball forward, they moved it forward really easily through the middle of the ground with little to no pressure and managed to put that into scores on the board. So I did point it out then, and since then it has just seemingly gotten worse, especially this last 3 weeks. And we are ranked, 17th or something in the league for defensive transition from D50, inside 50 to D50, D50 inside 50, all that sort of stuff. So it may not mean a lot to a lot of people. It's just a lot of numbers, and obviously you can see it at the end of the day on the scoreboard when they've scored a lot more points than we have. So I thought I'd give my best idea of what that actually looks like, defensive running, especially from the midfield as well. So let's give this a go and see what we come up with here. So this is Fremantle's very first goal from the weekend. So it's there's 16:50 left on the clock in quarter one. So 5 minutes of game time max. There's a couple of points on the board from either team. Fresh legs, so everyone should be full of energy. This is, our inside 50 here. You can see the setup we've got at the moment. And what we've got is actually spare numbers behind the ball. So we've got 4-on-2 back there. Everyone else is largely a man-on-man. You can actually see here in the middle as well, Charlie Cameron's got 2 players on him. He's got Heath Chapman and Frederick. And Murphy Reid is free there as well. We've got extras behind the ball. So where are the Freo extras? Well, Murphy Reid is one of them. As I said, Charlie Cameron's got 2 of them. Levi Ashcroft is sort of on his own a little bit. You'd think he's accountable for Frederick. And then they've got this fella at the top of the inside 50 as well. So they've got extra numbers at the contest. They've also got a spare-ish floating in front of the ball, sort of. Not really. But their numbers are around the contest. And that means they've got first chance to get a clearance, get it out of contest, which is where we generally excel, especially in our forward 50, where we've built our game over the last couple of years as well. What I want you to see here is how Freo work the ball out of this contest, how easily they work it out, and why that spare man, Murphy Reid, gets involved in the play 2 or 3 times even. What you're going to see here as well is Charlie Cameron is going to sacrifice his role here, put a block on for Will Ashcroft, and try and take Johnson out of the equation to free Will Ashcroft up for a forward 50 stoppage and try and sneak himself a goal. But what happens when Will Ashcroft gets free and Murphy Reid gets the ball is what I really want you to watch. This is what everyone has been talking about, our defensive transition, the lack of attitude, the lack of intensity, the lack of care or want to run defensively, because Murphy Reid will get the ball 2 or 3 times here, and Will Ashcroft actually ends up maybe a couple of metres away from Murphy Reid while he gets his first possession. But just watch how easily he gives up the chase compared to what Murphy Reid does in this play here. So I'm going to play the clip for you now, and hopefully this doesn't get copyright booted. So here we go.
Just speaking briefly about what has been working well for Brisbane is the inconsistency in the pressure applied.
There's Nick Dalsano talking about it now.
Between when they do it and what that looks like when they don't, and it's often reflected around the tackles.
So Charlie Cameron's trying to get Will Ashcroft free by putting a block on for Johnson.
Johnson using his bulk on Draper. The Frederick by hand.
Will Ashcroft in the vicinity.
Back to the running Frederick.
And by the time Murphy Reid gets the ball again, Ashcroft completely out of the scene, jogging at the back of the screen there. Here he is, Murphy Reid involved again for the third possession in the chain. And suddenly they've got numbers out everywhere. Levi Ashcroft makes half an effort there to get in there. That is the first goal. That's the first goal. Like I said, there's 16 minutes 30 or something left in quarter one, so everyone should have fresh legs. Everyone should have the right attitude, especially after the last couple of weeks where we've been towed up. So the desire and the want to try and rectify that should be there for most people, but seemingly not. So that's just an example, and I'm not trying to pick on Will Ashcroft here because I played wing on the weekend as well. I do it too. Like my effort wasn't there. Granted, I've been sick. That's not an out though. I'm also just a guy playing over 35s footy, so I'm not an elite level athlete, but I'm guilty of it too, one-way running. So that is the sort of stuff everyone is talking about, why we may not be in the frame to go a three-peat this year because of efforts like that from some of our better players as well. And that's exactly what Fags is saying. Some of our better players just aren't turning up. Now, you could probably cast that net over a couple of players. Obviously, Hugh McCluggage is down on form. Jasper Fletcher well down on form. Dunkley down on form as well. Now, I'm going to give these guys a little bit of a chop out here as well because they've all been very sore, all tired. Obviously, Hugh McCluggage had that calf injury. Josh Dunkley had ankle and shoulder surgery in the off-season, had a shortened pre-season. Will Ashcroft has had his elbow bandaged up. He's had his leg bandaged up. He's obviously sore. He's obviously tired. But you put yourself on the park, you're opening yourself up to this sort of stuff. You just declare yourself fit, and you've got to want to play, and you've got to want to put that effort in if you want to try and make this a three-peat team. So that sort of effort, I hope, is going to get highlighted. I'm sure it will, and hopefully we see a better effort against the Suns this week. While I'm here, I might try and answer as many questions as I can that fans have put forward through. A lot of questions about particular players. Andy Miles says McCluggage. That's the question. Don't really have an answer for you there. I know Kane Corn said this morning maybe give him a break of 3 or 4 weeks, give him a sort of mini pre-season like Paddy Dangerfield and see if he can get his body right. And after the bye, come back in all cylinders firing. I don't know. It's just he's also saying we probably need to drop the likes of Cam Rayner, Jasper Fletcher, some of the bigger names that aren't performing, but we just haven't got the cattle available to fill those holes at the moment. Kitty Coleman going out on the weekend again. What are we going to do to fill that hole? Shadow Brain, is he the answer? Who knows? Maybe Luke Beacon. He's been playing well in the twos as well, but the VFL side is suffering greatly as well from the lack of depth and the amount of players we've had to recall into that senior side. Bill has a pretty philosophical question here as well. Does the spectre of the 01 to 03 three-peat haunt the fan base, meaning we simply just can't accept an off year after back-to-back flags and several long seasons taking its toll on players? Is there an unreasonable expectation for 3 flags that blinds us to what we've already achieved? Now, I think there's an element of truth there, Bill. I think the idea of a hat-trick of premierships, a three-peat, is the paradigm of success. I think that's what a lot of footy pundits sort of would class as a dynasty. Hawthorn, Richmond 3 over 4 years, that Geelong 3 over 5 years. I think that is like, I guess, the sign that you've done it. You've solidified yourself up there in the upper echelons of great footy teams. And that's not to say we're not a great footy team. We have achieved so much over the last couple of years since Chris Fagan took over, and continuous finals appearances from 2019 all the way to 2025. Who knows about 2026? Maybe not. So there's probably an element of truth to that. It's like there's this unwritten expectation that 3 flags is sort of what it takes to be considered one of the greats, and anything short of that is not a failure, but it is falling short, I suppose. And I guess that feeling is sort of like, yeah, we know we've got what it takes, but I don't know, the effort on the part maybe suggests that perhaps we don't. Let's have a couple of other questions here. A lot of people still holding the faith, and rightly so. I've written this team off a number of times over the last couple of years. In 2024, look at the way we started that season. Last year, that horrible loss against the Suns, there was a couple of others in there where we just didn't show the effort. And you think to yourself, maybe this team doesn't necessarily have what it takes. I'm not writing us off yet. I'm not putting a line through us, but I have got the cap off the whiteboard marker at this point, if that's anything to go by. So for people that are sort of wondering what that defensive transition, lack of defense looks like. I hope that shows light on something. There's probably nothing new that people don't already know. It's nothing new that other footy shows, much more credentialed than I, have pointed out there. But I just wanted to show that because I noticed it in real time watching the game. The very sort of first opportunity Freo had to score a goal, they did, and it was off the back of lack of defensive intent. And even though we had numbers behind the ball, they didn't come into play because the pressure wasn't on the ball from the midfield, and they just ran the ball right through the middle of the Gabba with ease. So a little bit alarming, but fingers crossed we can lift against the Suns. Thanks for listening to the show. Whether it's just today, each week, we do appreciate the support. So we'll be back on deck for you next week.